Been like that for 12 years.
With them?
Yeah. Is it the library group or something?
No, it's Kids Voice.
Oh, they got it from the library.
I bet they did.
That's what the library, the library always calls me Brandon.
They might correct it if you send a check.
Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, they must have got all our addresses from the Fontana library system because I'm Brandon to those folks. How does that happen? I just don't understand that.
Spell checker, spell helper, or whatever that is.
Yeah, but I'd rather be Brain. Brain is what most people say. Like, I'd rather be Brain than Brian or than Brandon.
It is. Bob, you with us? Okay, thank you. Let me call to order the workshop session for April 18th, 2024. The first item on our agenda will be to review and to approve the agenda. And I know, Mr. Ward, we have some additions to the agenda.
Yes, we'd like to talk about securing grease receptacles at the restaurants under number 3 and number 4 memorial benches.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda?
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Second, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. We have an agenda. Our next item would be the approval of the March 21st work session meeting minutes. Do we have any changes, corrections, or clarifications?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. Our next item would be item number 4 will be the discussion. And first of all, it will be the Parks and Recreation Use Policy. And I know, Lester, you want to come up and give us an overview of what we're talking about and some of the issues we need to review. Microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, about pickleball tournaments, we've had a request from Mountaintop Rotary to do a pickleball tournament. Wanted to do some research, see what everybody else is doing. And by the way, Bill Kirkman is here. He's the president of the Mountaintop Rotary Club, who's wanting to do this. If there's any questions or anything for him, but in researching this, most of the tournaments are held at private clubs. I did find Towns County Recreation Department offers them. Brunswick, Michael Burrell, who I've been talking to with Rotary, has been to one down there, and I talked to them, and I've talked to Habersham County, are the only 3 rec departments that I've talked to that actually rent their courts out for. And some of them is because they don't have adequate courses. Some of them have just never been asked to rent it. So, but anyway, I've found anywhere from where they charge $10 an hour per court, 20% of proceeds, or $100 a court a day. Is sort of the price range with those 3 departments. And I did not go to any private clubs because that's a total different ballgame. That's not a municipality. So with that said, you want my recommendation? What I think is, or I mean, sort of what I feel is, go ahead.
Well, I wondered how long it was going to be and you know, how many they expected to have. And
well, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to under policies and stuff, just from talking to these other rec departments. Well, let's go. Let me go through all that and then we'll go. Okay. As far as number of tournaments, Towns County only allows 3 a year and Brunswick only allows 4 a year. So Josh and I talked about it a little bit. I think 4 a year, because you don't want it to be a tournament event or a tournament tournament facility,
Constantly.
yeah. Because it's public, and if you've been here, especially last summer with these things, Saturdays and Sundays, anytime you come through here, there's 4 or 5 families that wants to come just as a family and play. So I think it's good to have the tournaments, to have people in, and do them. But I don't think we want it to be a tournament venue. That's what.
Do you want them on the weekends?
Huh?
Do you want them on the weekends?
Yes, yeah, you'd want them on the weekends, I think, so. And usually they're 2 days. And maybe Bill can talk some more if you want it, but like the one they're looking at, and they're gonna hire Southern Pickleball Association to come in and run the tournament. They come in, they do all the registration, do all the groundwork, they provide the insurance, but they have to have 100 minimum players and a maximum of 150 for the 6 courts we have to do a 2-day tournament. I think another thing, and I've not thought about it, but Brunswick mentioned it when I was talking to them, is banners. They had trouble when they first started with banners, and their suggestion was that for the tournament, you allow 1 or 2 sponsorship banners. And my thinking is if you did that, like Rotary, let Rotary Club put up their banner, and then put up 1 more banner just for the duration of the tournament that has all your sponsors. Because I don't think you make a lot of money on the tournament itself. Where you make your money is your sponsors. If you have to rent courts, and then time you pay the Pickleball Association to come in and run them or whatever. And again, and it's in our outdoor recreation policies that it has to be a town approved nonprofit. So you can't just have somebody come in and make money off of it,
So this is an event though that you're gonna,
Bill, would you come up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As you're coming up, Lester, one question for you. The other 2 that do tournaments.
right.
One of the questions I would have is when they have a tournament and the 3-year, 4-year, whatever it is, are they using every court they have?
and you're pulling people from outside, obviously, to come to this. This isn't like a local thing. I mean, it
It's
could
gonna
be,
a-
but it's.
Our intent is for it to be a combination. So
Okay.
yes, we do expect it will attract people from outside visitors. But at the same time, we have a very strong group here of locals, and I expect a good number of them actually. will
And
be
then do
returning.
you do the, these other, I guess this is more for you, Lester,
Yeah.
the other towns, is there like an entry fee per team, or how does it work? How are
They
you
will
guys making
charge
money off of this?
So much a player.
Yeah, we typically we think it's about $60 a player per player to come. And that covers fees for us. So all the money we raise is going to our charitable account for us to get back out. So we keep a portion of that, and the rest of it goes to the management company who will facilitate the.
And Bill, you'll have probably a lot of volunteer
Yeah,
Rotarians helping
We're
organize.
thinking at
And
least 10 people are gonna be from our club are gonna be here.
Yeah.
We have one of our board members, Michael Burrell, who is organizing this from a project standpoint.
I will say this, when I first heard this, I got the impression some private company wanted to just come in, organize, give a little money to somebody and walk out with, 90% of the proceeds. And I thought that was a problem, but I see this more kind of like the art show where you have fees. The Rotary Club does the lion's share of putting it on and doing the work, and the money stays in Highlands.
I mean, when you hear what Lester said about $100 a quart, does that deter you, or is that like, I'm just curious what you guys are expecting to make, because I don't know what you have to pay this company.
We're not gonna make a lot of money on the entry fees, and depending on what the court fees are and all of that, it's really, we think because we have such a thriving community at pickleball, we think it'd be really well received by locals and as well attract other people. And so we want to get involved in it this year for the first time and figure it out. A lot of the money we will make will come from sponsors.
And this would you see this coming an annual thing?
Annual thing, yes, I do.
Once a year.
Once a
Once a
year. Yeah.
And do you currently have in your proposal project, at least, project proposal, sorry, do you have dates in mind?
Yeah, we picked September 7th, 8th for the first time, and we think that would work really well. We will obviously follow all the rules here, everything that's going on. They have Southern Pickleball is the largest management company of this sort in the Southeast. They run tournaments all the time. I have a list of them, so I can provide it to you all. So they're very reputable. They do a really nice job. One of the biggest courts in America is in Macon, Georgia. They turned their mall into a pickleball court, and they run those tournaments as well. So they're used to big ones, small ones, all over.
Just spectators?
A little, you know, there
not?
will be some, mostly the spectators will probably be the other pickleball
Players.
players who are not playing at the time. And we're trying to figure out, you know, exactly how that's all gonna work.
Yeah.
We were thinking you can see out these windows, so perhaps we could rent this room and you could watch from in here. We just, yeah, I mean, we'll have to, we're.
Those are
Working
high
through
rents,
those.
yeah,
Yeah,
skylines, yeah.
right, exactly, yes.
Will they be catered? The skybox.
Mayor,
Could
you
you-
mentioned the for-profits. I know of at least 3 that have called this spring wanting to come in here, and I told them that was just against our recreation laws.
Okay.
That they had to do.
What do we usually charge the nonprofits to use?
what?
What do we usually charge the nonprofits to use our facilities?
Well, it's like the park, if they use a park, it's $100. If they use the softball field, it's $100 a day or $150 a week. So that would be another thing I wondered
Yeah.
about. If it is for a nonprofit and that money's staying in town.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
well,
$100 a day.
we don't
$150.
intending to make any money off of it,
No.
and it's a nonprofit. So I think it's a cleanup fee or something kind of, so that, or the setup for y'all, for our recreation department to do more than anything else, so.
The banners, I don't have a feeling one way or the other, as long as they're like taken down immediately after that.
Where are they gonna be?
Well, no,
On
I
the
would assume on
screen.
the fences around the perimeter of the lawn or the court.
We're fairly early into figuring all of that out, but our plan is to as well.
I mean, I can't imagine you're gonna have a ton of them anyway, but
So all the banners would essentially be within the rec park,
Yes.
not
Not on
On
the
the
highway,
fence.
Somehow.
on the highway.
Yeah, not on the highway. We would just put them around probably the fence of the courts.
you could put on our sign,
Yeah, we'll put.
welcome
pickleball
pickleball or something like that.
So Lester, question for you. What is the fee structure for just, I come up with somebody and I'm gonna
Everybody
Get
pays
court.
$2 a player.
$2 a player
for
for how
one
long?
game or
As long as they
you
want to play. I mean, for that day.
Right.
Oh, you say.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, but you know, I've come over here just driven in here on a Saturday and there's 25 people outside waiting for
Waiting.
courts.
Yeah.
So they have to have a limit. I mean, like, you can reserve a court for how long? Like for an hour?
No, if you're during our, what we call open play, which is Monday through Friday from
Right.
8 to 11, you come and you we've got a paddle system there.
Right.
You put up paddles. Any other time, it's first come, first serve, and you play.
You
until-
play as long as you want
Yeah.
to? Oh, Lord.
But most
Okay.
people, an hour, if they play an hour.
Yeah,
hour and a half.
understand.
So question, what are you asking us? If it's okay?
Well, first of all, I guess we'll have to set these fees in our budget with fee schedule, but in Donnie Calloway's absence, what is it, he always said, consensus.
Consensus?
That, so Rotary Club can go ahead and get started planning and get everything together.
I don't have any problem with it.
I don't either. I think they ought to go ahead and plan it, maybe at the next board meeting, come back with.
I mean, it's
their
just using
fees and we'll
municipal
approve it.
facilities as a nonprofit in town for raising money. in
Yeah.
the town.
No, I have no problem with that. I mean, it's, you know, we'll be shut down for a weekend and I assume the people that really want to play can enter.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
So I do think we ought to let them come back and make a presentation.
Yeah.
We can give them approval like we did with the art show where they don't have to come back every year. But. Yeah. Yeah.
So do we want to set a fee though? Because if we're going to charge them, they need to know. And they did ask, would we consider giving them the courts and putting that down Highlands as a sponsor on it?
that's a good nonprofit right there.
Well, it's
Asking
good.
that question, but,
But like, I mean,
Or
To
they,
give them the
or
court.
what we,
I think I think Lester, we might give them the court this year, but let's see how much time and effort it takes your
Yeah.
crew
Yeah. I
to
think
do
that's
it,
fair.
because I don't want y'all to be run ragged, getting this 150 people in and out of here. You know, and regardless of how many volunteers we have, that we need to pay for your time and effort, even overtime, whatever it takes to get it done. But I don't have any problem with in the first year,
Yeah.
just to, yeah, it's a test year.
but I mean, like our road, when we do the Twilight 5K, they still pay the $100 for the park, for the evening or whatever.
I
They
think-
pay,
See, I think
they
that-
pay for the crowd
I
show,
think
they pay
that's-
for the park. for
But
2
the
days.
park actually has more cleanup afterwards than the pickleball
Yeah.
courts, and so it's a cleanup
There's
thing.
gonna be a lot of trash if you run 150.
around the whole place.
Well,
Would it be good to just have a flat fee then to cover some of that?
Well, we have a hunt for the park right now with $100. I think the, art show's $100 a day or something like that.
Does
But
that
that's
cover,
just-
does
that's
that
just
cover
real
what that,
loud.
does that cover our cost? $100 a day, I mean, what's that?
For
Does
the
that
most
cover the
part,
cost of
they-
picking up
They
the
pretty
trash?
much pick up the trash and then they put it in the receptacles and Larry's crew goes through, sanitation goes through and picks up the trash. Really, we don't have.
Well, if that's, yeah, I mean, I would think that. that would
And
cover the
again, that's
cost.
in our outdoor policies too, that it's a responsibility of the renter
Mhm.
to make sure the park's clean as it was whenever they came in to take over.
I think, well, maybe it's cleanup, maybe it's wear and tear.
Yeah.
You know, $100 every time you use it because of wear and tear.
Well, my suggestion is that y'all continue to work with Lester this month and just come back at our next board meeting with formal details and we'll review it and approve it. And you can get to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item would be ice rink fees. And, you know, things have gone up. And when we first started the ice skating, we wanted to attract people and $5 was a fantastic deal, but I scratched my head and say, gosh, I go in and buy a nice cup of coffee now and it's $5. So,
Yeah. you go to the movie and
Lester,
it's $20.
and we're now, and let me just say this, I remember when we first started, Old Edwards and Mr. Williams said, we'll buy this, we'll cover any shortfall for the first 5 years. It worked out great. They covered a few things. And then what was it? Next year, the compressor started going on the blink and we were putting out money. So, Lester, would you just go over what you think about this?
So the mayor just sort of said where we started. And up until the year of the compressor, we pretty much
The
stayed.
year of the compressor.
The year the compressor went out. Yeah. So it went out, and then last year we did good. This season, which was a bad season because of the weather, we were down about 1,200 skaters from what we were last year. And our budget, we went about, I think it's 34,000, a little over 34,000 was what it cost us to operate. We brought in 31, I think it was, $4,000 or $5,000 there lost. But we did have, again, a lot of chiller issues. Hopefully that's straightened out and going. But the closest thing I could find to anything like we do, of course, I never found another rec department that done it, but probably the closest thing is Ice on Main in Greenville. And they charge $7, $8 for children 12 and under, and $10 for adults. And Highlands Outpost, which is the one mountain skater, they charge $15 an hour. And then Carolina Ice Zone, which is an indoor one, they charge $7 for 5 and under, and $10 for 6 and over, plus $3 rent. So,
Who runs the one in Greenville?
do what?
Is the one in Greenville run by the city?
It's, the city hires somebody to come in and do it. It's a service for the
Right.
community to put miles. Where it is. So again,
So ours is $5 and that includes the rental.
yes, I tell everybody, because it's $5 if you've got your own skates, or $5 if you use, so we charge you $5 to use the ice. If you need skates, we don't use skates.
Have we had to start replacing
We
skates?
started last year replacing, because we had 2 or 3 of the the larger sizes that we'd had to send back, and once they got them, they said, we won't repair these because the shanks on them were getting a little wobbly. So we started last year and went a fourth of them, replaced them. And then this year we've replaced another fourth, and we started with the big ones because they take the worst abuse. So, and the small ones are still in good shape, but over
Lightweight.
4 years we'll replace.
Let me mention this, Lester. I know that on ice skating, you're supposed to, kind of regrind the blades every
Right.
so often. Do we do that or?
I do.
Okay.
One thing I gotta say about the ice skating program in general, Lester, I think that, and this is just by hearsay, is like, I think some of the kids that run that, I think sometimes we need some more supervision there, only because I've had complaints where people have showed up and they're like, they're not running the Zamboni enough to where the ice is actually dangerous, like where you can't even like, I mean, like there's gouges in it, and then there's like 3 kids sitting in the shack, on their cell phones. So, I mean, I think that's something that needs addressed, especially if we're raising the rates.
It wouldn't be too complicated to keep the rates exactly like they are and then charge $3 more if you need skates. I mean, because if you
That's
have
just-
skates and I mean, and I realize, but every other example that you had or comparison, all are in some shape, way or form for profit.
Right.
So, and we're not, I mean, if we broke even or cost a little bit or made it a little bit every year, that would be fine by me, but, and we need to have some reserves in case something goes down. I
Well,
understand
I was
that.
gonna say, but it's the wear and tear on the skates, the
Correct.
chiller, all the rest of that.
Yeah, I understand.
The Zamboni, everything
But-
like that.
But how many, I mean, would you guess just, how many would you, I mean, maybe you don't know this number, but if it's 5 and 8, I'm just using an example. If it's 5 and 8, if you have your skates or you don't have skates, how many people rent? I'm assuming most.
90%, 95%.
Right.
Very few.
Right, but a few local kids that actually bought skates because they go there a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm just using that as an example.
But, but I'd venture to say there's a lot of local kids that I know that do go there. So, I mean, that's the only negative against raising rates. I mean, it's like if they're from out of town, I don't necessarily have that strong feeling about it, but if they're local kids, I'd hate to keep jacking the price up because it gives them something to do around
I
here.
guess philosophically, you need to say, are we covering our costs or not? Because we certainly don't cover it in the pool.
Which
So-
this year, if we'd have charged $6 a person, we'd probably cleared about $2,000. So that dollar.
Yeah, because
made a
before we were breaking even or clearing a little
Right.
bit, but then we weren't replacing the
Except for
chillers.
the compressor and then the chillers.
What's the cost of a pair of skates?
80, I think these were $83 or $84. And we bought these in 2016. Or what Mr. Williams bought in 2016. 8 years, 7 years. is about the
So
life.
is that a wholesale kind of price or is that something, I mean, can I go out and buy a pair of ice skates for $80?
That's through Rydell Skates, which is what we purchased whenever we started. And I dealt with the same salesman for this year and he retired. So I just went back to them.
But it's coming directly from the company.
Yeah, it's
as
coming
wholesale.
directly from Rydell.
I'm just trying to figure out whether or not, if the local folks are invested enough to buy their own skates, is it gonna come out even
Well, I know,
on the fee at some point? Or are they buying skates? They still pay the lower fee. And there's, in 4 years, they've still got to replace skates that never got
Paid off.
paid off
Yeah.
by the fee.
That's true.
The problem is they need a new pair of skates every year.
Yeah,
Better off renting.
Yeah, it sounds like they're better off renting to me.
Gavin, he's probably bought a new car every year because he outgrows them. So, which he just passes them on. Somebody uses it. Somebody comes in. But ours are good skates, but they're not fancy skates. I guess a lot of these kids come in, in other words, they don't wear the same skates that we purchased, but this is what was recommended.
But they're durable.
They're durable, yeah. they're
Correct.
good.
That's,
I've not had no complaints on this yet.
You're not gonna win any Olympic gold on it.
I could certainly be for going up on the rates. I think we need to cover our costs no matter what. We need to have some extra in the kitty in case the compressor goes down again or
It will go down.
Well, yeah, I mean, everything's gonna go down again,
And
even,
that's
even the
$5 an
gas to
hour.
run the
It's
Zamboni.
$5 for however long you skate, and usually most people, and a lot of people come in and rent our skates and skate 15 minutes, so that's skated in Highlands, and then they're gone. I mean, it's a big turnover. You wouldn't believe how big it is.
Well, I know
Fine.
our staff salaries have gone
Yeah.
up just to get people.
Yeah.
We had to raise them significantly over the last year or so.
What about, as far as the age groups? What's the majority of age that you're getting in? Kids under 12 or over 12? And that would be kids over 12,
Yeah. Oh,
including me.
locals is probably 12 and under. That's a good question.
14 and under.
Do what now?
Probably 14 and under. local.
Yeah, probably.
Once they get to high school, they're too
Yeah.
cool.
I'd say the majority across the board is probably 14.
So if we had a staggered rate, is the 14-year-old, would that be our target for the younger group? If we're raising the rates?
Mhm.
So why not $8 for 14 and under, $10 anybody else?
But what about having a Highlands rate versus, and it's not like it even has to necessarily be posted. I mean, the kids working there know who's local and
Yeah,
who's
but
not.
I think that's impossible because
Yeah.
if you own a home versus live here full-time versus,
Yeah. 'Cause you're
you know,
paying
I think
taxes
that's
on it.
difficult.
And that's part of the intergovernmental agreement with the county too. Because I mean, how do you know if they're from Franklin? Our kids might not know. If in that intergovernmental agreement, we will not charge any Macon County person any more than we do Highlands. I think it's a little much to take on.
Sure you did
I'm-
that legally.
And I'm in favor of the prices going up. I'm not necessarily in favor of raising it, doubling it. Or, I mean, it could be
6 and 8.
incremental. Maybe
6
we have
and
a
8.
5-year plan.
6.
Yeah, 6 and 8. I think
8.
that's great.
14 over.
Yeah, I mean, 6 and 8. So then the majority of our kids that come here, or even kids coming, it goes up $1. And then the adults that help them, it goes up $3. I have no issue with that. And I'm good with, if we don't charge different between rent or no rent, but
Is it cash or is it card?
We got cash and card.
Because cash, when you are at an increment of
Yep.
$5 is harder to do.
yeah.
It's
It
gonna
is, but I mean,
require a lot
but it's
more
even
change,
dollars,
that's for
at
sure.
Not,
I mean,
time and change
yeah.
and everything else.
Even because like we're selling coffee for $1 and hot chocolate for $1. At some point during the day, usually they have to go to one of the grocery stores. Somebody doesn't get one. Because we're only keep a couple $100 in save for starting change.
Refresh our memory of what the compressor costs to replace. So based on what you're talking about now, all we're doing is replacing the compressor every 4 years.
Well, yeah, I mean. that
Based
one,
on overage, on profit, so to
exactly.
speak.
Yeah.
So
I see
you're,
what
so you're not even paying, you're not accounting for anything else.
So question also, how many skaters did you, I know you said you were down 1,200, is that what you said? So let's assume the low number, because that you got to budget low. You can't budget based on our peak one time. So how many skaters did we have this year?
I think it's right at 5,300, and last year we had like 62.
And we think,
Yeah.
I mean, if you go over there, 80% of them are, 75% of them are under 14.
But my thing is, if you go to the movie, you pay $7, $8 for a movie ticket. And then it's all this other on top of it. I think, personal opinion, $8 is I mean, we've been at 5 for 8 years. $8, I think doubling it's a lot personally, but I think $3 that, I mean, if we did that and had the same year next year we had this year, we're gonna make a way.
So you're saying $8 for everybody?
Yeah.
And what's the, as far as the extra wear and tear, excuse me, on the larger size skates?
Don't pick on big people.
It's factored in.
You think that the $8 overall are gonna also cover the maintenance?
Yeah.
Replacement on larger skates?
Well, we've done it on $5 so far. So, I think $8. I mean, basically, that's been an extra 15,000 this year. We went in the whole 4,000, that would have been a $10,000 profit on a bad year. I mean, not a profit, but $10,000 gain this year over expenditure.
It's a reserve
Yes.
for future equipment maintenance. And
Well, if that's your recommendation, let's try 70. Try that.
I think that's
As I say, the logistics of making change can be
Yeah.
sometimes tough.
would you work on these and come back to us at the board meeting next month with, information about the cost and what you project is,
I think,
we'll have to do.
I think the budget meeting May 2nd.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, okay, thank you. That's very good. Okay,
Thank you, Lester.
thank you, Lester. Appreciate it. Josh, would you like to give us a overview? We put this on the workshop agenda because it has, the grease issue really came to the forefront on Monday. Would you explain to us the situation where we are?
So we have a couple of large bears roaming town. And we've had one of these grease containers every year knocked over, and it takes a pretty big bear to do that. This year, we've had Mountain Fresh, Wolfgangs, Blueback, and Stubborn Bull. Okay, Stubborn Bull. Turned over. The Stubborn Bull and the Blueback was knocked over this week. It headed toward the creek. We got a call on that. The fire department went over and actually dammed it up and stopped it from going in the creek. The county emergency management came up and contacted.
Who reported that? I'm just curious. Did the restaurant report it?
No, somebody had seen it. So the county came up, they contacted the owners. They made them clean it up. I think we took some sand over just to stop it from hitting the creek, but they're cleaning it up. But I feel like that if you've seen the street coming out of behind Mountain Fresh, it's black from Mountain Fresh all the way down to somewhere around Paoletti's where, cars have come out of the back entrance of Mountain Fresh. So I think what we need to do at this point is, Lamar and I have talked about it. The sanitation department has looked at it several different ways. We don't know exactly what businesses pick up what ways. So we think that most of the grease is sucked out. Some of it may be dumped out. I don't know, depending on the business. But I think we need to have a policy that requires them to secure the grease receptacles somehow, whether that be in an enclosure to where they can be dumped if they're dumped, or augers put in the ground and chains put on it with carabiners. That way it can't be turned over. And I think the best way Lamar and I come up with is just to having the policy that they must be secured.
But there's got to be a minimum standard. I feel like there's got to be some. That's what, and I'm glad this came up because I was going to bring this up. But I think there's got to, and I don't know who answered. Like, I'm not any kind of engineer, so I don't know what that is, Lamar. Might be the best one to determine what the minimum standard is for securing one of these things.
Necessarily think we should provide design standards for such. Not everybody can build it close. That's probably the ultimate way to secure that feature or a dump that is abused by fires and humans. Fortunately, humans haven't been abused recently. That's probably the best way to put it close. Not everybody can do that. So talk about other means of security. On one that's pushed up against the building. Perhaps they could do a latch system to the building.
Well, but you could do something like chain versus like a bungee cord is not acceptable. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's got to be something that's gonna.
Something attached to a building. some could have a concrete pad, with that's secure with chain or cable. And in attachment of the back, so you don't have to leave careful, but then quickly, it could be many different things. Some, as I said, if they have to sit on the ground, they would put in a secured by chain or cable that way. There's several different ways of doing it. I hate to dictate the shadow of this.
Should it be something that you
Kept oversight.
supervise? They put it in and they say, and you go say, yeah, I think that'll work.
No more than that, I think that's probably, that's fine. I can see several different scenarios for different things.
Right, that's what I
Yeah.
mean, and you're experienced enough and know what's gonna hold and what's anchor gonna hold.
I'm just saying, so someone just doesn't throw like a rock on top of it and says, oh, I thought that was gonna stop the bear from flipping it over.
Approval by,
Yeah.
I
think-
see different scenarios.
I think the thing to remember is this is our water supply.
Yeah, this is important stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't-
This is not just,
But not just that, but it's unsightly,
Oh, yeah, it
It's slick
attracts.
as,
Part of our
Yeah.
bear wise
Yeah.
initiative appearance. I was out running today. I could see on tire tracks where they've been running through that grease, tracking up the roads.
And the bear prints are all over the place.
yeah, grease tracks.
Follow his path all around town.
I just think there needs to be a serious effort by the restaurant to secure these things and not some.
And I think it needs to be approved by staff.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to do it and then say, well, that's not good enough, then they can at least run it by and say, what about this? The one that happened last year that I'm aware of, that thing has into a 12-inch retaining wall with huge chain double around it. Unless you literally lift it straight up, it will never come over. So, or come tip over. So,
Not everybody has the same.
right. No, agree. But, and I believe that at Blue Bike / Stubborn Bull, they're talking about putting in bollards, concrete filled bollards. And then
Chain.
chaining it steady so it doesn't happen again. So I think there are, like you said, there's a lot of different scenarios, different cases on what to do, but I hate to have to force people into things, but if, and it hasn't really been a big issue in the past, but it's become more and more.
Bears are smart and they learn,
Yeah, well, they like
and it'll get worse,
that grease.
and it'll get worse.
And we've had this issue in the past, so it's not the first time it's happened.
Right.
Some summers are worse than others, but
And the restaurant folks I talk to, every single one of them says the truck that comes around to get it all pump it out. They never have to move it. It can be a fixed item. And they pump it out of the lid and that's it. I mean, nothing gets tipped. So.
That's good enough. You want to look at, it could have been too.
Mhm,
It was looking at, seeing manufacturing.
mhm.
How
Yeah.
many of these things does a restaurant have? I mean, I know it probably depends, but like, no, it's just one.
And are they standardized? I mean, is this
Is
something
it a
that,
tank or a 55 gallon drum?
No, it's
The
kind of a
difference.
tank. It's heavier duty than a 55-gallon drum.
It looked like a miniature dumpster.
Yeah, it does look like a mini
But-
dumpster from a distance.
But it's bought as a grease tank, not as a bucket.
So, yeah, okay.
That's what I meant. It is a grease instrument.
Yeah,
Yeah,
picture it being like
Yeah.
55.
they can't just go out there and
They're
get a,
usually square.
right, get a 55-gallon drum, cut it off and put a top on it and say, this is my grease container.
I was just wondering if they were standardized, if they had some way to attach them to the ground. I mean, do they have links on each corner that they could be, you could put a,
Fairly close. Had some holes in the body of it, the frame of it. But it was also manufactured where it would be modified.
well, I was just wondering if going forward, if you could standardize for new grease traps, standardize the container itself.
And I think if you wrote an ordinance, you could have the language, you have to use a official or design.
Well, that's what I'm
container
saying,
for-
have
but-
something
but the
standardized
ones-
from here on out.
But you can't.
All of
always
the
standardize
restaurants,
The way it's designed, because like say, every application is different, how
Yeah.
they can, how
Right.
each entity can actually secure it.
and how big the restaurant is, what type, but I will say, as far as whether or not they have one and they have the correct kind, et cetera, that's a health department issue that is covered. So when you do a project, you have to have one and it has to be approved by the health department. Because it's actually part of their inspection before you can open your kitchen at all, so.
Oh, okay.
So they're handling that part. And other places, I don't know if they automatically have some way to affix them to a wall or to a ground or a slab or whatever. Because I would venture a guess that there's probably in North Carolina, very few towns that really have to worry about the bears tipping them over as much as we do. I'm sure there's others, obviously, but I don't, like I said, I've seen the one that I was talking about, it's chained to that big retaining wall. I mean, you wouldn't pull that off with a truck. So, and I know Blue Bike and Stubborn Bull is doing theirs that way with bollards.
I'm just saying though, like with the bollards, for instance, like if you leave it up to the restaurant, or the bollard's gonna be like mounted or sunk deep enough in the ground, like that's the kind of stuff like. Cause it'd be cheap enough for me to just pay somebody to put two, like I could go to Lowe's and get those cardboard things and pour my own concrete, but is that really gonna do anything? No. So I mean, I think the thing is, it's gotta have oversight.
No, I agree with that. It needs to be approved by.
And that's why,
that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why we're talking about.
I'm just saying,
Lamar's
it
go
can't be left
inspect
up to the restaurant, cause I don't trust the restaurants are all gonna do the right thing.
So do we need a code or a code ordinance
An
or
ordinance
something?
of some sort, that's what I'm referring to.
And add that into it.
I think it has to be added in, but it needs to be flexible enough for each unique
Situation.
venue. Yes.
Well, it just says it's unapproved, method of securing it, and then we let Lamar or whoever.
Sign off on it.
Approved by the town, not the health department, but the town.
Right.
Okay, so, Josh, I think the direction is for the staff to work on a addition to the current
Amendment to the ordinance.
ordinance, defining the parameters on this issue. of Grease tanks. Very good. All right. Let me bring up the next item, and that is memorial benches. And we've had these kind of requests made several times and just recently. And that is that people say, we would like to put on town property a bench that is a memorial to one of our loved ones. And I think we have a policy about that now, but I'd like for it to kind of, again, go back and review that. In my position and my concern, if we allow that, for example, over at Harris Lake, where we have, property and so forth, then we are entering an obligation potentially to maintain that bench and the badging on it and so forth. And I'm concerned that we don't need to, as a town, get
I would
into that.
avoid that.
Yeah.
I would as well.
Okay. Okay.
So it's just a blanket, no memorial benches on town property.
In my opinion.
And,
yes.
and Josh,
I'm
we've
just
kind of followed that as
Clarifying
a
that that's
guideline.
what you want to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
We followed that as a guideline,
We have.
but we're getting more requests and I just wanted the board to do it. A review, if that's where we want to be on this.
And that's with any town property.
Yes.
Well, that's not gonna affect the cemetery.
Oh, no.
There's the place for the memorial bench.
Yes.
Are there memorial benches at
There
the
are.
cemetery? I didn't realize that.
At individual spots.
I'm sorry,
I mean, just generally speaking, you're talking about?
Or on,
On the
no, on the
property?
block.
Oh, on the.
You mean
block.
on the person?
Yeah, on
the block,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are.
It wouldn't
Absolutely.
affect
You
that.
bought the dirt,
Mine.
you do what you want to do with it.
yeah.
That's exactly right.
and that becomes their property, so
They maintain.
that's one thing. Okay. All right, well, like I say, I just wanted to bring that up, since we've been having some requests made. Okay. That gets to the end of the agenda. If anyone would like to reflect on anything that we've covered, clarify. If not, we've got about 15 minutes before the regular business meeting.
It's almost enough time to go to Killwins.
There you go.
You still have cookies.
So do I have a motion that we adjourn the workshop? All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.